Europe is more than just castles and cobblestones. It brims with creatures that history tried to bury. Beneath mountains, inside forests, and behind stained glass, something breathes. From skinless sea demons to whispering spirits, these aren't mere tales, they're warnings. Some are still seen today. This is no myth. It's fear mapped out in folklore. Tonight we invite you to explore 30 terrifying mythical creatures of Europe. You may recognize a few, but the rest might haunt your dreams. Let's begin. If you're intrigued by dark folklore, haunted histories, and eerie creatures, make sure to subscribe for more chilling tales each week. While you're here, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? Is it midnight in Prague or 3 a.m. in the Scottish Highlands? Let's see who else is wandering through the night with us. Our first creature, the basilisk, lurks in the sun-scorched ruins of medieval southern Europe. Whispers once echoed through crumbling cathedrals and plague-ridden alleyways like curling smoke. Stories spoke of a creature buried in stone foundations, hidden in a forgotten cistern or chapel crypt. This malevolent being needed no claws or fangs. One mere glance could curdle your insides. Some said it was no bigger than a snake, while others claimed it was as large as a lion. All agreed. The basilisk could kill with a single look, turning stone to dust and livestock into lifeless husks. It wasn't just a fable, at least, not to those living among leprosy and lightning. The Mythological, a medieval bestiary penned by real monks, depicted the basilisk in great detail. Half rooster, half serpent. Born from a serpent's egg incubated by a toad or old hen, a cruel joke of nature. The church even intervened. Priests in southern Italy sanctified wells believed to harbor these beasts. One notable tale recounts a village in Provence where locals tried to kill a basilisk by lowering a mirror into a tunnel, hoping it would be cursed by its own reflection. The outcome remains unknown, but the well was sealed with holy wax, perhaps a worse fate. Eventually, science stepped in, but only after the legends were firmly entrenched. Herpetologists think encounters with real venomous snakes inspired the basilisk tales, particularly spitting varieties. Yet the charred earth and twisted livestock defy explanation. Strangely, 17th-century scholars published anatomical sketches of the basilisk in medical texts, listing its venom as an actual ingredient in apothecary inventories. Someone either convincingly lied or fervently believed, and beyond fear, there was a sense of awe. Medieval nobles spent fortunes on basilisk bones, usually fakes, because possessing one meant power, a vital currency for survival. The most chilling aspect of the basilisk. Its existence lingered beneath floorboards, behind cellar doors, in places no one dared to check. A creature that could kill with a mere glance leaves you questioning its reality and your own safety. Speaking of creatures that capitalize on your curiosity, let's shift to something sailors swore they spotted, but only when it was far too late. One glimpse beneath the waves meant your ship would soon vanish. Enter the Kraken. The sea has always been a paradox, a symbol of rebirth, freedom, and destruction wrapped in one. But in the icy waters between Norway and Iceland, it was also a ravenous beast that swallowed ships whole, rather than simply sinking them. In the 13th century, sailors attested that the Kraken wasn't just any sea monster. It was an entity so gigantic it was often mistaken for an island. Sailors would even anchor on its barnacled back, light fires, and cook meals until the land groaned and slipped into the depths, taking everything with it. Descriptions tell of tentacles longer than cathedrals and eyes as large as dinner plates. Others posited that the Kraken simply created whirlpools when it submerged, transforming the sea into a lethal trap. The consistent theme across these stories? The sense that it was always watching, always ancient. The earliest account appears in the 13th century Norwegian text Kongsskugga, a guide meant for royalty. The author warned that only 2 krakens existed simultaneously. If allowed to multiply, they would deplete all the ocean's fish. By the 18th century, naturalists still sought to catalog this beast. Carl Linnaeus briefly included it as a cephalopod in his taxonomy drafts. While he later excised it, the concept infiltrated scientific curiosity. Skeptics couldn't dismiss the reports: shattered ships, strange scars on the ocean floor, half-mangled carcasses washing ashore with suckers massive enough to wear as hats. Then, in the 19th and 20th centuries, Fishermen off Newfoundland began hauling and living giants, squids with hubcap-sized eyes and tentacles stretching up to 40 feet. Once myth, the giant squid became an undeniable reality, invoking further fear of what else lurked in the depths. Modern science theorizes that kraken tales originated from sightings of giant or colossal squids during storms, combined with the vivid imaginations of desperate sailors. Yet the ancient mariners detailed descriptions of water bubbling before an attack. The creaking wood under duress, and the scent of brine and ink seem too precise to dismiss entirely. Even today, huge portions of the North Atlantic remain unscanned, with fissures deeper than Mount Everest. There are places so dark and pressurized that even our finest submersibles can survive only a few hours. That silence suggests something remains. Because monsters don't always roar. Some simply bide their time. Moving on, if you've weathered tales of the Kraken, hit subscribe to keep the chilling stories flowing. Tell us where you are tuning in from. Are you in Norway at dawn, or far from the sea, lights dimmed at 2 a.m.? What other brave souls venture into the dark alongside us? Next up, we encounter the Griffin. Venture into ancient Scythia's arid deserts or rugged mountain passes, and you might stumble upon something extraordinary. Not human bones, but massive bird-like skeletons, claws like spears, and beaked skulls with eye sockets deep as fists. Locals would caution you not to stare. Those were the remnants of griffins, guardians of gold. According to Greek historians like Herodotus and Aristides, these creatures nested near precious deposits in barren territories beyond the Black Sea. They fiercely defended their treasures, and unlike many mythical beings, griffins attacked not out of hunger, but duty. The legend of the griffin transcended mere folklore, making its way into Greek art, Persian tapestries, and Roman mosaics. They graced thrones, adorned shields, and perched atop emperors' tombs. Symbols of power, yet they always remained watchful. Unlike dragons that hoarded gold out of greed, griffins safeguarded it as something sacred. They were warnings. Dig for riches, and the griffin would dig you deeper. For years, historians dismissed griffins as a mere metaphor. Then came paleontologists. Historian Adrian Mayer proposed a theory that the ancient tales were inspired by fossil beds of protoceratops, dinosaurs with beaked faces and four-legged postures. These remains were common in Central Asia, near gold-rich deposits. To a myth-making eye, they might resemble a hybrid of bird and lion. Yet if these bones were indeed real, they don't explain the griffin's attitude. Tales portray griffins as loyal and moral, guardians who wouldn't hesitate to attack if provoked. Interestingly, medieval accounts even suggested griffins mated for life. Raising young and feeling grief, appearing noble rather than monstrous, defenders of their domain against human greed. Today, griffins still appear on heraldic crests and corporate logos, keeping a watchful eye over amassed wealth, a relic that stubbornly lingers despite disbelief. Their legacy continues, guardians of hidden truths and the yearning for protection beneath layers of modernity. Amidst whispers of stolen gold or cursed treasures, total metamorphosis awaits in the borderlands of medieval Europe. Where something ancient stalks among villagers, the werewolf. Under the full moon's influence, a transformation occurs. Not merely a tale whispered by candlelight, but documented cases, actual trials, and arrests. In parts of France, Germany, and the Balkans, belief in werewolves was so strong that people were captured, not accusatory metaphors, but veritable charges. A 16th-century German farmer named Peter Stump confessed to his alleged lycanthropy after much coercion, claiming to wear a magical belt that allowed transformation. His confession revealed dark deeds, but the forest was rarely forgiving to those branded as outsiders. Wanderers, or anyone deemed different, especially the untrustworthy. Modern scholarship suggests theories, ergot poisoning perhaps, hallucinations, mass hysteria, misidentified animal attacks, or scapegoating wrapped in supernatural fur. Yet these explanations feel too tidy for something deeply primal. The werewolf myth spans across time and culture. Greek tales of King Lycaon transformed into a wolf, or Norse sagas featuring berserkers clad in wolf pelts. It wasn't merely a curse, but also release, a seductive allure to shed societal constraints. Curiously, some medieval records spoke of benevolent werewolves, guardians, emerging from the night. One East European man claimed he was sent by God to battle witches during full moons. Judges, however, were skeptical of such claims. Today's werewolves mostly haunt Halloween costumes or cinematic cliches, serving as symbols of hidden dangers and revealing that even the ones closest to you might harbor a monstrous secret. As the dead refuse to stay buried, let's journey toward a creature that needs no full moon to rise: the vampire. Before Hollywood donned them in tuxedos and aristocratic cheekbones, vampires stirred terror in Eastern Europe's foggy graves, where they clawed at open windows, not seeking invitations, but simply unsettling those who might be next. The earliest vampire tales characterized them not as enchanting figures, but rather bloated corpses with bloodied lips, unsightly reminders of untimely death. In Slavic folklore, a vampire wasn't a fantasy, but rather a pressing societal concern. In 18th-century villages, when misfortunes arose, residents would urgently exhume the recently buried corpse. If it appeared fresh, bloated, or suspiciously had blood at its mouth, drastic measures ensued. Archaeologists have discovered vampire burials throughout Romania, Bulgaria, and Poland, corpses pinned down with iron spikes or buried face down. Historians argue various reasons: disease, tuberculosis, rabies, or even the plague as explanations for hysteria. However, something primal about confronting death itself lingers. The remnants of hidden fears echo through rural narratives. When livestock began unexplained DOFs, closely following the death of a neighbor, paranoia trudged in. In response, the church intervened in the 1700s, declaring the dead couldn't return. Yet tales of cunning vampire hunters persisted, offering protective services in desperate communities. Some myths even depict vampires not as physical corpses, but as restless spirits, reflection of someone deeply cursed or improperly buried. As the myths traveled west, Polidori's the Vampire, 1819, ultimately served as the linchpin for their evolution, morphing them from peasant nightmares into seductive icons. This lustful reimagining stripped them of their peasant roots, but failed to extinguish the lurking terror. The undead that refuses to rest, harboring chilling hunger beneath charming smiles. In breezy northern coastal villages, anxiety shifts from what rises from graves to what surfaces from below the sea: a mouthful of knuckle. In Scottish folklore, the knuckle doesn't creep quietly. It roars, it screams, it doesn't slink into the night. Born from the ocean's dark depths, the knucklevee is a monster so dreadfully feared that its name was seldom uttered aloud. Perhaps it appears as a grotesque hybrid of man and horse, an impossible creature with a human torso, arms dragging, and an unyielding grin. But it's not the peculiar shape that terrifies. It's the sheer stench of its breath. The locals claimed it could blacken crops, sicken livestock, and poison wells with its toxic mist. Unlike others from folklore, the knuckle wandered amongst farmers, up coastal paths, and through churchyards, seemingly untraceable. Legends say it was impossible to escape its pursuit. Surely it bore some roots from ancient Celtic water spirits thought to bless or curse at will. Yet the knuckle has no illustrious presence in medieval bestiaries. Only whispers passed from one generation to the next. Children were cautioned against walking near shorelines after dark, especially in winter when seas raged. Not because of pirates or drowning, a far worse entity lingers. Many, even today, avoid northern shores when fog settles in, fearing that the knuckle will mark your sleep. And beneath this sleep rests something far more petrifying: the Alp. In German folklore, it's a kind of nightmare creature. You awaken, but the room feels wrong. Heavy air presses down. You try to move, shout, yet your body fails you. That's when the Alp comes, not by haunting, but by suffocation. This nocturnal demon is a certitude, an elemental entity linked to sleep paralysis and ominous stillness. The Alp doesn't need form or motive. She is consistent like an old nightmare, immobilizing, terrifying, implanting a mark, not on bodies, but memories. Historically, it was thought to be tied to witches, perhaps even their astral forms. In some interpretations, people speculated she was projected into dreams unknowingly by witches. The tales describe the Alp as shape-shifting. Though it could take the guise of a small creature, it also invoked tribulations experienced in dreams. As modern science categorizes this phenomenon as sleep paralysis, it doesn't explain the resonating stories passed across generations. In Austrian folklore, shadows of anxiety leap off the page as humans still experience. The historic weight of fear represented within the Alps' presence, shifting to European forests unspooled by quiet souls, Let's explore a creature known as the Lay. The forest disguises itself with deception, hiding mysteries beyond the perceived calm. In Slavic folklore, the Lay isn't merely a ghost, but the very spirit of the forest, forcing rules, watching all who enter. This guardian embodies nature itself, tall as trees, shrouded in foliage. Its changeling form remains shrouded in ambiguity. As travelers wander, the Lay might mislead them, mimic voices of loved ones, or rearranging paths into a confusing labyrinth. But it isn't random chaos. It punishes disrespect. Those who harm the forest or take without reverence face its consequences. Although not often malevolent, the Lay serves to remind that the natural world enforces its own rules. Folklorists compare it to spirits from various cultures, echoing the nature of guardian figures across humanity's history, both indifferent and powerful. Deep in the forest's heart, the Lay serves as a stark reflection of a time when human encroachment was less common, serving as protector, reminding people that wilderness represents rules, moralities, and memory. While the Lay guards the woods, the Selkie emerges from the sea, a being torn between two worlds. The Selkie, a seal in the water and a woman on land, is a feminine paradox. Found along the coasts of Scotland, Ireland, and the Faroes. These shape-shifting beings shed their skins to intermingle with humans. Tragically, men believing in fate often entrap these creatures, keeping them close only to lose them when their skin is found. Men discover the Selkie's skin to hide it, but never realize the heartache that ensues when the creature eventually finds what was taken. One tale may tell of a jealous man marrying a Selkie, only to lose her again upon reclaiming her stolen skin. The relationship between man and Selkie reveals themes of longing and captivity, a reminder of the divide between human connection and the wild. Though some legends tell of male Selkies exuding charm, most resonate around the enigmatic women who dance between realms, reminding us of previous entanglements. Whether viewed as cautionary tales or hopeful reflections upon the bond between lands, the Selkie represents freedom in stories echoed for generations. Yet, when the Selkie steps into light, another figure emerges. The Baba Yaga. She doesn't knock. She cackles, descends on a mortar, steering with a pestle, sweeping her trail away. A figure in Eastern European folklore, Baba Yaga represents chaos, wisdom wrapped in mystery. She presides over lost souls, serving as both villain and guardian, judging those who cross her threshold. Those entering her house face more than just impending doom. They encounter an archetype appearing before them, putting them to test. Her home, crowned with chicken legs, rests amidst a clutter of ancient relics and potent wonders. Though seemingly terrifying, her tests reveal pathways to self-discovery for those brave enough to enter. Enduring across centuries of folklore, her presence symbolizes what lies beyond safety, the ultimate threshold that must be crossed to gain wisdom. Today her legacy lives on, a haunting reminder that when we stray too far and seek too much, nature's judgment awaits. But if Baba Yaga embodies nature's judgment, then her kindred spirits, nymphs, smoothly dance in the backdrop, leading wanderers toward unexpected perils. These spirits of the wild appear when you're solitary, shimmering at twilight, embodying the essence of nature itself. Nymphs touch upon the domain of spirits, reminding mortals of their fragility within its grasp. While nymphs appear alluring, their beauty masks a deep danger, leading travelers too far into realms where the natural order twists. In the grand tales, some have been known to lead men to despair, blurring lines between adoration and annihilation. Respect for their territory mattered, yet many disregarded it at their peril. Sprites of the woods could either bless or curse those unwise enough to cross paths. Themes echo criticism of indulgence and carelessness, fading whispers through the trees warning you not to stray from the path. The nymphs remind us that beauty carries its own peril. Next, we face the chimera. When the gods play with spare parts, the result is the chimera. A hybrid horror, part lion, part goat, part serpent, that scorches land in a blaze of ash and sulfur. Embedded in Greek mythology, the chimera surfaces as a nightmarish creation, manifestation of chaos and destruction, linked to the unpredictability of nature. Once believed to scorn mortals as they prowled the mountains, this being eventually encountered a hero named Bellerophon, who, riding Pegasus, defeated the beast by lodging a spear down its fiery throat. However, even after its defeat, these flames still burn today along Mount Chimera, where a scientific phenomenon lingers, a living echo of a monster that once was. Scholars interpret the chimera as an allegory for both natural disasters and the hybrid fears resulting from mankind's instincts and unchecked curiosity. This creature serves as a grim reminder that not all monsters come from outside nature. Some arise from humanity's attempts to control it. And lying beneath this violent tempest is Fenrir, a great wolf born of misfortune and destined to kill a god. In Norse mythology, Fenrir was tethered in terror, raised in chains to stifle the power of fate. This figure symbolizes resilience against external forces, yet with the weight of prophecy looming above him. Comparatively, the experience of being raised in fear transforms Fenrir into something born of instinct, inevitable. He doesn't embody malice, simply potential, lurking, waiting for the moment when destiny unfurls. His legacy would not fade into history but reverberate with themes of wild nature, punishment for the very fear instilled in him by those who claimed to know better. As time passed, Fenrir's presence haunted various forms of media, leaving echoes behind for us to ponder. Yet far from Fenrir's silent pursuit, we meet the Dullahan, a headless rider whose presence announces death. Crossing paths with this figure means facing inevitable consequences, a grim reminder that some events mark the end of a journey. Across Ireland, the Dullahan has become a messenger, haunting and relentless, foretelling death by simply showing up. Descriptions convey a powerful specter who rides a ghostly horse and carries his own head, foreseeing moments to mark the soon-to-be departed. This entity is not a villain, but a stark reminder that death is never far away, a harbinger of fate leaving behind shadows of fear. Nevertheless, tales persist, telling of the Dullahan's ominous arrival. Never a promise of harm, but a curtain call confirming that life is fleeting. Lurking between human fears and historical accounts, we delve into smaller monsters found in folklore despite their immense weight. The Knocker. These creatures reside in the mines of Cornwall and Wales, embodying a duality of aid and trickery. They served either as helpful spirits guiding miners towards rich or cunning tricksters, leading the greedy towards perilous doom. Descriptions vary, yet miners treated them with respect. Some believe these gnome-like beings were the spirits of miners themselves. Others claim they were ancient echoes of Celtic deities. Central to community and survival, they remained alert. Whispers of their presence resonated from one generation of workers into the next. Yet if the Knockers watch the depths, what stirs beyond? The bowers of the earth linger, watching, waiting quietly until someone greets them under the skies, waiting patiently beneath.
Ow.
In the night, the black shuck prowls, the spectral hound draping itself across English folklore. This entity arrives silently and can be felt long before it's seen, a large, dark dog with eerily glowing eyes. When it appears, it serves as an omen, foretelling sorrow, mayhem, or impending chaos. With roots found deeply embedded in ancient stories, the black shuck watches human lives unfold, forever present, whispering of loss and inevitability. Next, we rise in stature to encounter the wyvern, a creature of war with wings sharp as blades, descending upon those who would challenge it. In contrast to classic dragons hoarding gold or guarding treasure, wyverns represent overwhelming destruction. They are manifestations of terror, draped in feathers and venomous tails. Lastly, let's explore the doi, a domestic being that embodies the unease lurking within the home, a spirit watching over with both care and mischief. This household spirit coexists quietly among possessions, inheriting a presence as palpable as skin. To disregard or disrespect it is to ignite open chaos within the haven. However, just when we think we've uncovered all of Europe's fearsome lore, deeper mysteries arise, offering no respite from the shadows, waiting patiently for the next curious souls, willing to wander away from the safety of the path. The shadows remind us that folklore, neither benign nor entirely wicked, awaits to weave its stories around our lives, whimsically or grimly entwining the past with the present.